I never thought I'd find myself in a situation like this. A classic case of a cheating spouse, complete with all the heartache and betrayal you see in movies. But here I am, sitting alone in my living room, a cold beer in one hand and my thoughts swirling like a storm in the other. The air feels heavy with disappointment, and I can't help but think about how I got here. My wife, Jessica, and I had been married for 6 years. At first, it was blissful. We were that couple everyone envied. We had our routines, our inside jokes, and a mutual understanding that kept us close. But over the past year, things started to change. Jessica became more distant, spending late hours at work and showing less interest in the things we used to enjoy together. I brushed it off as stress from her job. She was a marketing manager and often dealt with demanding clients. I thought I was being supportive by being patient. Then came the little lies. At first, they were inconsequential. She'd say she was running late because of a last-minute meeting, or she'd spend her weekends going out with friends while I stayed home. I wanted to trust her, I really did, but every time I'd ask about her day, there was a hint of tension in her voice that I couldn't ignore. She'd brush me off with a wave of her hand and a feigned smile. "You're being paranoid, honey," she'd say, rolling her eyes as if I was the one being unreasonable. But then the parking ticket happened. I remember the day vividly. It was a Saturday, and I was at home, trying to tackle the never-ending pile of laundry. Jessica told me she was going to visit her friend Sarah, who'd recently had a baby. I waved her off with a kiss and went back to my chores, thinking nothing of it. However, when I opened my email later that day, I saw a notification from the city. Jessica had received a parking ticket across town at a bar. The timestamp sealed the truth. Part of me felt like I'd been slapped in the face. The bar was nowhere near Sarah's place, and the ticket was issued at a time when she had claimed to be home. The hours she'd told me about didn't add up. I felt sick too. My stomach, a mix of disbelief and anger coursing through me. How could she lie so easily? How could she betray the trust we'd built over the years? That Saturday night, I waited for her to come home, rehearsing what I would say in my mind. I imagined confronting her, asking her about the ticket, demanding the truth. My heart raced as I replayed our last few conversations, looking for clues that I had missed. When Jessica finally walked through the door, I could tell she was in a good mood, her cheeks flushed and her hair slightly disheveled. I felt a surge of rage at the sight of her carefree demeanor, and I knew I couldn't let this go. "Jess," I said, my voice steady but laced with tension. "We need to talk." She looked at me, confusion etched across her face. "What's wrong? Why did you get a parking ticket at that bar?" I asked, watching her expression shift from confusion to defensiveness. "What are you talking about?" she snapped, her tone immediately changing. "That's ridiculous, I wasn't even near there." "Oh, really?" I replied, anger bubbling beneath the surface. "Because the ticket says otherwise, and I know you weren't at Sarah's like you said." Her face paled, and for a moment I thought I saw a flicker of fear in her eyes, but then she collected herself, crossing her arms. "You're being insane, Mark. I can't believe you accuse me of something like that." I could feel my heart pounding in my chest. This was it, the moment I had dreaded but knew was coming. I had to push further. "Jessica, it's not just the ticket. I've seen how you've changed. You're always on your phone, going out more, and you're not the same person I married." Her lips curled into a sarcastic smile. "Oh, so now I'm not allowed to have friends. Just because you're feeling insecure doesn't mean I'm cheating on you." But I knew what she was hiding. I could feel it in my bones. The anger I felt transformed into a deep sense of betrayal. I had trusted her completely, and now it felt like the ground was crumbling beneath my feet. The confrontation continued to spiral. I could feel the tension thick in the air, almost suffocating. Jessica stood there, arms crossed. Defensively, her brow furrowed in annoyance. I could see the gears turning in her mind, trying to think of a way to twist the situation to her advantage. "Mark, I can't believe you're doing this," she said, her voice rising slightly. "You're making me feel like a criminal for no reason at all. What kind of husband accuses his wife without any real evidence?" I felt the heat rise in my cheeks, a surge of frustration surging through me. "This isn't just about the ticket, Jess. It's everything," I exclaimed. "You've been distant, secretive. I've tried to be understanding, but you've changed. I can't shake the feeling that there's something more going on." She rolled her eyes, clearly annoyed by my accusations. You're being paranoid. You're turning into one of those guys who thinks their wife is cheating just because she has a life outside of the marriage. Maybe you should consider that I'm just busy with work and my friends. I shook my head, feeling a mix of anger and disappointment. Busy with work, busy with friends. That doesn't explain the lying. You didn't even tell me where you were. Suddenly, her expression softened and I caught a glimpse of vulnerability. Mark, I'm not cheating on you. I love you, she said, her voice full of feigned sincerity. I was just, I don't know, trying to have some time to myself. I feel like you've been smothering me lately. The words hit me like a slap, smothering. I didn't know how to respond. All I had tried to do was support her, to give her the space she needed. And now, here she was accusing me of being the bad guy. The betrayal stung deeper than I expected, and I was left grappling with an overwhelming wave of emotions: hurt, anger, and disbelief. Just tell me the truth, Jessica, I pleaded, my voice dropping to a whisper. Are you cheating on me? For a moment she seemed taken aback, and I could see the wheels turning in her mind. No, of course not. Why would you even think that? She shot back, her tone defensive. You're just trying to sabotage our marriage with your insecurities. I stepped back, feeling defeated. I had laid my heart bare, hoping for some semblance of honesty from her, but all I got were more lies and evasion. It was infuriating, and I could feel the tears welling up in my eyes. I turned away, attempting to process what was happening. My mind raced as I battled between wanting to believe her and knowing deep down that something was off. I could sense the finality of our conversation hanging in the air like a ghost, and it terrified me. What am I supposed to do? I finally asked, my voice breaking. How can I trust you again? She rolled her eyes again, dismissing my pain like it was nothing. You just need to calm down and stop being so dramatic. Trust comes from being open, and I've been open with you. You're the one hiding behind accusations. No, I'm trying to address the reality of our situation. I yelled, frustration bubbling over. You're hiding something, Jess, and I can't just turn a blind eye to it. Seeing her dismissive attitude infuriated me more. I had poured my heart into this marriage only to feel like it didn't matter. I needed answers, and I needed them fast. The next few days were tense. I tried to maintain a semblance of normalcy, but every time I looked at her, I felt this gnawing pit of suspicion and betrayal. I started to notice the little signs that had slipped past me before: the way she was constantly texting on her phone, the late nights at work, the trips to the gym that seemed longer and longer. I couldn't shake the feeling that there was more to the story. I decided to dig deeper. I wasn't going to let this go without a fight. I started by checking her social media accounts, something I had avoided doing before out of respect. But now, curiosity and concern drove me. I quickly discovered that her friend Sarah was tagged in several photos with Jessica at that bar, laughing and having a good time. The captions were full of inside jokes and laughter. But the final straw came when I stumbled upon a text thread with one of her male coworkers, Tom. The conversation was flirty, with emojis and playful banter that made my stomach churn. They were talking about meeting up outside of work, and nothing I read indicated that it was strictly professional. My heart raced as I realized that my worst fears were coming true. Every lie, every evasive answer from Jessica felt amplified by this new evidence. I knew I needed to confront her again, but this time I would have more than just a parking ticket as my proof. I would have the truth, and I was ready to demand it. The following night, I steeled myself for another confrontation with Jessica. I could feel the weight of the evidence pressing down on me like a dark cloud. I had replayed the conversations in my head countless times, trying to anticipate her reactions. Would she deny it again? Would she try to twist the narrative to make me feel like the bad guy? I didn't know, but I was ready for whatever came next. When she came home from work, I was sitting at the kitchen table, the phone in my hand, the threads of her betrayal pulled tightly in my grasp. I could hear the sound of her keys jingling as she entered, the click of her heels against the hardwood floor echoing through the quiet house. She glanced at me, surprised to see me waiting for her, and set her bag down. Hey, what's going on? She asked, her voice light and casual as if nothing was wrong. Sit down, Jessica, we need to talk, I said, trying to keep my voice steady though my heart was racing. Her expression shifted, the lightness faded, replaced by a hint of concern. "Okay, what's this about?" I took a deep breath, gathering my thoughts. "I've been doing some digging," I said, my voice firm. "And I found text messages between you and Tom. They're not just work-related, are they?" The color drained from her face. "What? You're snooping through my phone now," she retorted, her defensiveness flaring up immediately. "That's a real breach of trust, you know. Is it a breach of trust when you're lying to me?" I shot back, feeling the anger bubble up again. "You're the one betraying our marriage, Jessica. Just admit it. You're spending your time with him, and it's not just for work." She opened her mouth to protest, but I cut her off. "I saw how you were talking to him. The flirting, the emojis, it's all there. You can't deny it." Her silence was deafening, and for a moment I thought she might actually confess. But instead she squared her shoulders, adopting that same defensive posture I had seen before. "Fine, maybe we joke around. What's the big deal? It's harmless fun. You're making a mountain out of a molehill." "A molehill!" I exclaimed, feeling a rush of disbelief and anger. "You think it's harmless to flirt with someone else while you're married? Do you even hear yourself? I can't believe you're making such a big deal out of this. You're acting like I'm doing something terrible, and I'm not. You're just jealous because I have friends and a life outside of you," she retorted, her voice rising. "Friends? This is different, Jessica. You're hiding things from me. You're lying, and it hurts. I thought we had a partnership built on trust, but now I see you're willing to throw that away for some thrill." "Trust? You're the one who's broken that trust by snooping through my things. You're acting like I'm the villain here." She snapped back, her frustration finally boiling over. I felt a deep sense of betrayal wash over me once more. This wasn't the woman I married. I had known her to be strong-willed, yes, but I'd never expected her to become so manipulative. I could see that her denial was rooted in something far deeper than just the surface-level flirtation. There was an emotional connection to Tom, and it scared me to think about what that meant. "Jessica, this isn't just about the messages. It's about the lies and the secrets. I'm here, trying to understand what's happening, and you're just deflecting. Maybe I'm deflecting because you're being unreasonable." She retaliated, her tone dripping with sarcasm. "I can't have a normal life and still be married to you, apparently. You want me to be your little housewife, and that's not who I am anymore." Her words hit me like a brick wall. It felt as if she was pulling away from me, and I could see the distance between us grow wider with every accusation. I had been trying to be understanding, but her refusal to acknowledge my pain made my heart feel heavy. "Is this who you want to be, Jessica? Someone who lies and sneaks around?" I asked, my voice breaking. "If so, then maybe we need to rethink this whole thing." "Rethink? So what you want? A divorce? Is that what you're saying?" She shot back, her eyes narrowing. I paused, the weight of her words hanging in the air. It was a terrifying thought, one I had never wanted to entertain, but the reality of our situation pressed down on me like a lead weight. "I don't know, but I can't keep living like this. We need to figure out if there's a way to repair what's been broken, or if it's time to walk away." Jessica crossed her arms defiantly, a challenging look in her eyes. "You really think you can just throw away our entire marriage over this? You're so quick to judge without ever trying to see it from my perspective." "I'm trying, Jess," I argued, my voice rising once more. "But every time I reach out, you push me away. You're the one who's choosing to hide and lie instead of being honest with me." Her facade began to crack, and I could see the hurt behind her anger. But instead of breaking down, she covered it with defiance. "Maybe I don't want to be honest if it means dealing with your constant accusations." I felt a wave of sadness wash over me as I realized we were at an impasse. We were two people standing on opposite sides of a chasm, unable to bridge the gap. I longed to reach out, to find a way back to the love we once shared, but it felt so far away now. I had come to confront her, to pull back the curtain on the lies, but it seemed we were only digging deeper into a pit of resentment and misunderstanding. In that moment, I knew I had to make a decision, and it was one that could change everything. As I sat there, the air thick with tension and unresolved emotions, I felt a sense of finality creeping in. The confrontation with Jessica was spiraling into a futile argument, and I knew that if we didn't address the underlying issues, we would be trapped in this cycle of blame and resentment. If I was going to stand a chance at salvaging our marriage, or even moving on, I needed to think clearly. Jessica, I said, trying to keep my voice steady despite the turmoil inside me. This isn't just about you and Tom. This is about us. The lies, the secrets, the distance, it's all tearing us apart. We've lost sight of what we built together. I want to understand what's going on, but I can't do that if you keep dodging the truth. She rolled her eyes and I could see her defenses rising again. You don't get it, she muttered. What do you want from me, Mark? I can't just drop everything and focus solely on our marriage. I have my own life too. Your own life, I echoed, incredulous. That's not what I'm asking for. I'm not asking you to give up your friends or your job. I'm asking for honesty and transparency. I thought we could share our lives together, not live in separate worlds. At that moment, I sensed a shift in her demeanor. The fire in her eyes dimmed just slightly, as if she were contemplating my words. Maybe I've been a little distant lately, she admitted, her voice softening. But it's because I feel trapped. And when I try to talk to you about my feelings, it feels like you shut me down. Trapped. I asked, confusion washing over me. Do you think I'm trying to control you? I don't know. Maybe I just feel like I've lost my independence, she replied, her voice tinged with frustration. You keep saying I'm lying, but I feel like you're not even listening to me. It's all accusations and no understanding. I took a moment to digest her words. There was a kernel of truth buried beneath her defensiveness. I had been so focused on the betrayal that I hadn't taken the time to consider how she felt, how lonely she might have been in our relationship. I'm sorry if I haven't been the best listener, I said, my tone softening. But the way you've handled this has pushed me away. I just don't understand how we got here. She sighed, the weight of our conversation settling heavily on her shoulders. I didn't mean for it to happen this way. Maybe I was looking for something outside of our marriage because I didn't know how to deal with the issues we were facing together. I could see the tears welling in her eyes, and for the first time since this nightmare began, I felt a flicker of hope. So, you admit, there's something wrong with us. Yes, but it's not just all on me, she replied, her voice breaking. We both have a part in this. The words hung between us, heavy and charged with emotion. The realization that we had both contributed to our troubles was a bitter pill to swallow, but it also felt like an opening, a chance to rebuild what was broken. So what now? I asked, my heart racing. What do we do with all of this? I don't know, she replied, wiping a tear from her cheek. But I want to try to fix things. I don't want to lose you. The sincerity in her voice sent a rush of emotion through me. I had been so intent on proving her infidelity that I hadn't truly considered the crumbling foundation beneath us. I want to try too, I admitted, my heart aching with the possibility of healing. But it's going to take work, Jess. We can't keep avoiding the issues. Agreed, she said, her voice barely above a whisper. But I need you to promise me that you'll trust me again. It's not going to be easy, but I want to put in the effort to rebuild. Trust, that elusive, fragile thing that felt so far from my grasp in that moment, but if we were going to move forward, it was necessary. I'll try, but I need you to be completely honest with me moving forward. No more secrets, I said firmly. She nodded, her eyes filled with determination. No more secrets. I'll tell you everything. It might hurt to hear, but I'll be transparent. As we sat there, the tension began to dissipate, replaced by a tentative sense of hope. It was terrifying to think about what lay ahead, but it felt like we had taken a crucial step toward rebuilding our relationship. I knew it wouldn't be easy. The scars of betrayal would linger, and we would have to work through our issues together. I felt a wave of relief wash over me, despite the heartache we had just navigated. Maybe this was our chance to rediscover each other, to understand the wounds that had driven us apart and to heal together. But I also knew we had a long road ahead, filled with hard conversations and raw emotions. That night, instead of sleeping in separate rooms, we lay together in bed, both of us feeling the weight of our shared struggle. We began to talk again, this time about our hopes, our fears, and the future we wanted to build together. The path ahead was uncertain and fraught with challenges, but for the first time in a while, we were no longer alone in our pain. We were in this together, ready to face whatever came next. But even in that moment of connection, I couldn't shake the feeling that the other shoe was yet to drop. There were still unanswered questions, and I was determined to find the truth behind her affair. because before we could rebuild, I needed to confront the past. The days following our heated confrontation felt like a delicate dance, tentative but necessary. Jessica and I were both on high alert, carefully choosing our words and actions, trying to navigate the fragile truce we had established. I knew that trust wouldn't magically return overnight, but I held onto the hope that through honest communication, we might find our way back to each other. We started to share more about our days, trying to rekindle the connection we once had. Jessica opened up about her struggles at work, explaining how overwhelmed she had felt with her responsibilities. I listened intently, trying to offer my support, but my mind kept circling back to Tom. I needed to address that part of our relationship, her emotional affair, before we could truly begin to heal. One evening after dinner, I finally gathered the courage to bring it up. "Jess, can we talk about Tom?" I asked, my heart pounding in my chest as I saw her expression shift to one of apprehension. "Do we have to?" she replied, a hint of defensiveness creeping into her voice. "Yes, we do," I insisted, feeling a sense of urgency. "I can't move forward without understanding what happened there. I need to know what he meant to you and how far it went." She sighed, clearly torn between wanting to protect me and her own guilt. "I don't want to hurt you, Mark, but I know you deserve the truth," she said finally, her voice trembling slightly. "Tom was someone I could talk to when I felt like you weren't there for me. It started as just a friendship, but it became emotional. I didn't intend for it to go that far, but it did." My heart sank as I listened. "Emotional," I echoed, feeling a mix of anger and sadness wash over me. "What does that mean? Were you flirting with him? Did you go out with him?" Jessica looked down, unable to meet my gaze. "There were times we went out for drinks after work, but it never crossed the line physically. I swear. It was more about the connection we had, the way he listened to me when I felt lonely and unappreciated. I know that's not an excuse, but it's the truth." "Did you ever think about what that might do to us?" I asked, hurt and confusion flooding my voice. "You were seeking comfort from someone else instead of turning to me. It feels like a betrayal." "I know, I get that now," she replied, tears pooling in her eyes. "At the time, I felt this void and I let it cloud my judgment. I thought I was just having fun, but I didn't realize how it would affect our marriage. I didn't think about the consequences of my actions until it was too late." Her honesty hit me hard. I felt the weight of her guilt and remorse, and though it hurt, I also knew this was a crucial moment for both of us. "So, if it never went physical, what about your feelings for him?" I asked, needing clarity. "Did you love him?" "No, I love you, Mark," she said vehemently, reaching out to grasp my hand. In my head, I knew that. I thought I could compartmentalize everything, but it spiraled out of control. "I was searching for affirmation in the wrong places, and I know I hurt you in the process. I'm so sorry." I could see the sincerity in her eyes, and while it offered a glimmer of hope, the pain of her betrayal still lingered. "It's going to take time for me to process this, Jess," I admitted, my voice barely above a whisper. "I don't want you to think we can just sweep this under the rug. We have to work through it together." "Absolutely," she agreed, her voice steady with determination. "I want to do whatever it takes to regain your trust. I'll cut all ties with Tom and focus on us. I'll do anything, Mark." "Cutting ties is a start, but it's more than that," I replied, feeling the weight of the moment. "We both need to be fully committed to addressing our problems if we want to heal. This isn't just about you or me, it's about us." As we sat there, the room filled with an uneasy silence, I realized that our journey wouldn't be easy. Our path forward was fraught with challenges, and both of us would have to make sacrifices. But as I looked at Jessica, vulnerable and willing to change, I felt the tiniest flicker of hope that we could find our way back to each other. Over the next few weeks, we made a concerted effort to communicate openly and honestly. We went on date nights, explored hobbies together, and even sought couples therapy to help navigate our way through the emotional fallout. Each session was a mix of tears, laughter, and deep discussions about our feelings and needs, but it wasn't without its challenges. There were moments when I would catch her glancing at her phone, and a wave of insecurity would wash over me. I struggled to shake off the feeling that she might revert back to her old ways. The trust that had once anchored our relationship was still fragile, and I found myself grappling with the remnants of pain. One night, after a particularly heavy therapy session, we returned home, both of us feeling drained but also somewhat lighter. Jessica turned to me, her face illuminated by the soft glow of the kitchen lights. "I know I messed up, and I don't expect you to forget," she said quietly. "But I want to be a better partner for you. How can I do that?" I took a deep breath, appreciating her sincerity. "Just keep being honest with me. Share your feelings even when it's uncomfortable, and let's continue to work on rebuilding our foundation." As we talked, I could feel the connection between us strengthening. We were both learning how to be more vulnerable, how to express our fears and hopes without hiding behind walls. It was challenging, but it felt like we were slowly but surely piecing together our shattered relationship. But just when things seemed to be stabilizing, I received a text that brought everything crashing. Down again. It was from an unknown number, and as I read the words, my heart dropped. "You might want to watch your wife closer. She's not the person she claims to be." The message sent chills down my spine. Was this some kind of sick joke, or was it a warning? I felt a wave of anxiety wash over me as I realized that the darkness of our past was creeping back in. I needed to find out who sent this message and what it meant for our already fragile relationship. My instincts told me I couldn't ignore this, not now when we were finally beginning to heal. My hands trembled as I stared at the message on my phone, the words burning into my mind. "You might want to watch your wife closer. She's not the person she claims to be." For a fleeting moment, I felt paralyzed by fear, the specter of betrayal rising up to haunt me once more. Was this a prank? A misguided attempt to stir trouble? Or was it someone who genuinely knew something I did? I turned to Jessica, who was pouring herself a glass of water in the kitchen. Her back to me. "Jess, we need to talk," I said, my voice strained with anxiety. She turned, eyebrows raised in concern. "What's wrong?" I took a deep breath, steeling myself for what was about to come. "I received a text from an unknown number. They said I should watch you closely, that you're not who you claim to be." Her face paled, and I watched as the color drained from her cheeks. "What? Who would send you that?" she asked, her voice choking with a mix of confusion and fear. "I don't know," I replied, my heart racing. "But it feels like someone is trying to stir the pot. And considering everything we've gone through, I can't help but think there's some truth behind it." She crossed her arms defensively, her expression shifting from concern to defensiveness. "Mark, I've done everything to be honest with you. I'm trying to fix what's broken. You can't just assume the worst because of some random message. I want to believe you, Jess. But with everything that's happened, I need to know." The last thing I wanted was to spiral into another round of distrust. But the weight of that message felt like a stone in my gut. "Let's not overreact," she said, her voice steadier than I expected. "We can find out who sent it. Maybe it's someone from work trying to stir drama because they know we're having problems." Her suggestion made a strange kind of sense. Perhaps it was someone who had seen us struggle and wanted to exploit the cracks in our marriage. I nodded slowly, trying to calm the storm of emotions swirling inside me. "Okay, let's investigate together." The next day, I took a day off work and we began our search. I had her go through her contacts and we started to track down who could have sent that message. As we scoured her social media and contacted people she knew, the tension between us slowly eased. After a couple of hours, as we sifted through the noise of her online interactions, we stumbled upon a troubling detail. Jessica had a mutual friend with Tom, a friend named Rachel. As I examined Rachel's profile, I couldn't shake the feeling that she might be the key to unlocking this mystery. "Do you think Rachel sent that text?" I asked, my brow furrowed. "She always seemed a little too interested in your business." Jessica's expression darkened. "I've gotten that vibe from her too. She's the type who enjoys gossiping. Maybe she heard something and is trying to cause issues." "Should we confront her?" I suggested, the tension coiling back into my chest. "I think we need to talk to her, but let's approach this carefully," Jessica said, her tone serious. "I don't want to make assumptions about people without evidence." That evening, we decided to invite Rachel over for dinner under the guise of wanting to catch up. As she arrived, I watched Jessica's demeanor shift from anxious to determined. She was ready to face whatever this woman had to throw at us. As we sat at the dining table, the conversation flowed easily at first. Rachel was charming, cracking jokes and making light-hearted comments, but I could sense that Jessica was tense, her words carefully measured. I decided to broach the subject directly. "Rachel, have you heard anything about Jessica and Tom?" I asked, looking directly at her. I received a text that raised some concerns, and I wanted to know if you've heard anything worth sharing. The smile on Rachel's face faltered for a split second before she regained her composure. "I don't know what you're talking about. People gossip, but that's just part of the workplace, right?" I felt a surge of anger at her dismissive tone. "You don't think it's odd that someone would warn me about my wife's behavior, especially given our situation?" Rachel's eyes narrowed slightly, and I could see the gears turning in her mind. "I don't get involved in other people's relationships. If you're having problems, maybe it's because you're both not communicating well." Jessica looked over at me, her expression a mix of determination and uncertainty. "Rachel, are you trying to tell me that you haven't heard anything about Tom? Because I don't want to have to dig deeper. This is serious, and I need to know if you know something I don't." Rachel hesitated, and the tension in the air thickened. Okay, she said, finally relenting. "I've seen Tom and Jessica together at work functions. They flirt, but it didn't seem serious. I didn't think it was my place to say anything." My heart sank as her words echoed in the silence of the room. "You didn't think it was your place?" I repeated, feeling both hurt and betrayed. "This was happening right under my nose, and you thought it was okay to stay silent." "Look, I didn't think it was that big of a deal at first," Rachel stammered, her bravado fading. "But things can escalate, and I see now how close it got. You both need to communicate better, or this will only get worse." We finished dinner in a tense silence, and Jessica and I exchanged glances that spoke volumes. As Rachel left, I turned to Jessica. "We have to be honest with each other. I can't keep finding things out like this. It's going to destroy whatever we're rebuilding." "I agree," she replied, her voice shaking. "I'm sorry I didn't see it sooner. I thought I could keep it under control. I didn't want to hurt you." We spent the rest of the night talking, facing the uncomfortable truths about our relationship head-on. The revelation about Rachel, combined with the emotional fallout from Tom, forced us to confront our problems in a way we hadn't before. In the weeks that followed, we continued to attend therapy, and with each session, I felt the cracks in our foundation begin to mend. It wasn't easy, and there were moments when I felt the weight of suspicion creeping back in, but we worked hard to create a space of understanding and vulnerability. I learned that rebuilding trust takes time and effort, and that in a relationship, both partners share the responsibility of nurturing it. As Jessica committed to being honest and transparent, I found myself slowly letting go of the anger and hurt that had plagued me. By the time summer rolled around, I could see the light at the end of the tunnel. Our relationship was far from perfect, but it was stronger than it had been in a long time. We were learning to communicate openly, to express our feelings without fear of judgment, and to trust each other again. I reflected on everything we had been through and realized that this experience had changed me. I had learned to confront my feelings, to be more open with my emotions, and to understand that relationships require continuous work. As I looked at Jessica, laughing and smiling with me during a weekend outing, I felt a sense of hope that we could continue to grow together. We still had challenges to face, but with each step forward, we were reclaiming our love and building a future rooted in honesty, vulnerability, and trust. And while the scars of betrayal would always remain, I knew that our journey had the potential to lead us to a stronger bond than ever before.